we have not heard from Reek here on this platform since 36 was shipped out of Boston. So I
Oh
just need
yeah,
to give you
it
the
has been
floor.
that long.
I did. I gave Devin the floor to talk about Toronto. Now we're gonna go to the other side to talk to me.
It has been that long since we've recorded. It's only a couple of weeks, but a lot happens in the off season over that amount of time. You know, it definitely like sucks as a fan losing Marcus Smart just because like he's been there for so long. He's been the heart and soul, and he's really like put blood on the line for this team. And he was there when um like when we were making the playoffs as like a 7-8 seed, and was there when we were one seeds when we shouldn't have been one seeds, and was there when we was in the finals. Like he's been there this entire time, so it sucks losing him. And I saw a lot of Celtics fans like getting a little overly emotional. It's like, bro, we've seen Paul Pierce and KG and Ray Allen all leave and Rondo leave within like a year span or a 2 year span. Like we've seen pieces of this franchise that have been there for a long time leave. We will be okay, and I think we got better because of it. One, I think Kristaps, if this is how the team's going to look moving forward, barring any more big moves, like a Jaylen Brown trade or anything, which I'm not expecting that, getting really, I think somebody that can be a really good third option because Porzingis has been asked to be like a second option to like a Luka Doncic, and then whatever was going on in Washington when I think he played some of his best basketball maybe since like his Knicks days. I think he was really good for them last season. But him being like a true third option can really just space the floor, maybe get some like post touches here and there, maybe when Tatum or Brown's off the floor. I think that can really unlock his game a little more. He won't be asked to do as much, but he can do what he's really good at, and that is pick and pop, spacing the floor, and the occasional post up here and there. And I think even though like I think he's an upgrade from what Al Horford was bringing to the table offensively, even though defensively Al Horford was still really good. I think Kristaps can still do a little bit of like the rim protection stuff that Horford was doing. So I like that move from that sense. And I think it just brings a lot more versatility on the offensive end, and it won't be just as stagnant as Tatum, Brown going to ISO ball late in games. I think Porzingis adds a little more of a different element. And I've been very vocal. I think Derek White does everything that Marcus Smart does, at least last season. And I think he's doing it better than Marcus Smart was in this past season. So I'm fine with Derek White being that gritty defensive guard that we have on the roster. Keeping Brogdon, I think, was very big. If anybody watches my channel, I was high on Jordan Walsh. I was ecstatic that we got him in the draft. I think he can provide some stuff from day one. And then I didn't have O'Shea Brissett on my radar before the free agency, but getting him another wing, I really like what he brings to the table too. I've been a fan of him since he was at Syracuse. So overall, I'm pretty happy with our offseason so far. If anything else big happens, I'll definitely be here to talk about it. But if this is our team going forward, I'm okay with it. Maybe we'd like to see another guard get added to the rotation. That's why I've been like really the long right to find a way to Boston, but that's probably not going to happen now. But if another guard is added to the mix, I'll be happy with that. I guess next is just figuring out what's up with JB's extension. Maybe seeing if you can not pay the full max, maybe get that number down a little bit. And I think that would be a very like successful like A plus, close to A plus type of offseason. I'm definitely a fan of what Brad's been doing. I think we got better because of it, and that's good because I think a lot of other teams, top teams in the East, have made moves to get better, and a lot of teams like Philadelphia might still have moves to be made with James Harden.
Yeah, like you say, I think the Celtics front office as a whole has done a really good job so far this summer. Porzingis addition will be really good. I like what they did even just on draft night, getting a bit more future flexibility with their picks. Moved out from late in the first round, ended up drafting Jordan Walsh later on, which was a good pick in its own right, and got, I believe, 4 future second-round picks. So they got a lot more flexibility in that right after they traded a couple away for Derek White only a bit over a season ago. But like you say, moving forward, I don't think there's a ton they have to do for the rest of this offseason. Maybe they look to add a guard. Maybe they just look to unleash Peyton Pritchard into the rotation now for the rest of next year, if he's even willing to do that, or if that bridge is just fully burned at this point. So that's probably the only minor decision that has to be made. The biggest thing, like you say, is just what happens with Jaylen Brown. That's priority number one for the rest of the offseason, figuring out if you extend him, how much you extend him for, if he's willing to negotiate down from the max, or if you just have to trade him. That's really the only thing that matters for Boston at this point. They've made already 2 fairly significant moves, and both of which I think were quite good, that were able to improve this roster in a way that will be able to give them a bit of a different dynamic from, like you say, just the Tatum and Jaylen Brown duo game that we've had so long now for Boston the last couple of years. So I think that's a nice added element for them. Maybe we see some more shuffling in the front court if Al Horford gets moved off of with that addition. But I don't think that's overly imminent. If it does happen, I don't think that's an off-season move. So we'll see how that progresses potentially towards the trade deadline, or even more so likely maybe into next off-season. But for the time being, it's just about Jaylen Brown and making sure that you maximize him in one way or another, whether that's an extension or whether that's potentially a trade if they just are not willing to give him that max.
Yeah, this certainly was not the offseason that I expected for Boston, but at least short term, I do really like the direction they're headed in. I think you guys pretty much just hit the nail on the head, just talking about all the moves they made and really just reinforcing what they already had. Like, as guys like Al Horford were going to age and probably make their way out of the city in the next few years, bringing in a guy like Porzingis so you can get some more mileage out of, like, that's good. Only thing with that whole move where I'm like kind of is not even to do with Porzingis. It's more so just like the fact that Brogdon was like basically all but shipped out and then is still there. Now, if he's cool, then I think he still fits on the roster really well. And especially for a team that needs playmaking, he's going to be like invaluable. So if they make that work, which I have trust that they can, because you've heard reports about it that things seem to be going pretty well. I like that a lot. Long term, that Jaylen Brown $300 million is just gonna hit. Like, I feel like that really can hamper your roster flexibility in the future. But if we're just sitting here talking like right now is our window and we want to win a title in 23-24, I think you're in a pretty good spot to do so.
Yeah, and the window is like right now, but as long as like Tatum's on the team, you definitely have like a chance to be a very competitive team. Yeah, that's the only other thing, like you mentioned, Gabe, is like the Brogdon situation. But Brogdon's like he's a pro's pro, man. Like, that is a super professional. So I'm sure he understands, like, it's just kind of the nature of the NBA. It's kind of a business. But like you said, as long as he's cool, I think keeping him is definitely big time. And even if that's your guard rotation, that's still two pretty like impactful guards. If it's just Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon. But you're going to get a lot of Tatum on the ball, Jaylen Brown on the ball. So this team moving forward, definitely looking good. Grant Williams is probably gone now, but I think like O'Shea Brissett, Jordan Walsh, I think they can fill in those Grant Williams minutes pretty well. So, very good offseason. Like you said, Gabe, I'm like, these aren't the moves I expected, but I'm pretty happy with them as a fan.
For sure. Definitely lots of reasons to be happy with the Celtics offseason so far. It's funny how we basically got through the entire discussion without mentioning Grant Williams. It kind of lets you know where we're all kind of at with his future with Boston. And I think I'd be very surprised at this point if he's back. But like you say, I think they did a fine job replacing him with Walsh and Brissett to fill that role to a point and into next season.